What happens when a world-class nutritionist uses blood panels, cellular biology, and fact-based science to create and monitor healthy eating plans with supplements for her clients? Everyone wins. Welcome to Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy, an educational experience that gives you both the actionable and practical tools you can use every day to get your health, weight, and life back on track.
I am Haylie Pomroy. I'm your nutritionist. I did not come by this profession by choice. I would like to say I was drugged out of a barn, kicking and screaming, into a hospital bed, and found myself in health crisis. And was actually diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder at 19. It's called ITP. It's been really in the news lately with all of these clotting issues that a lot of people are dealing with in their health and their immune system. At a very early age, I got the privilege of being voluntold that I was going to study the metabolism, because the metabolism was at the crux of why my body was attacking itself, why my immune system was attacking its own platelets, why I had chronic inflammation, why I had premature graying, why I had hair loss, why I had weight gain, why I was extremely wired and tired. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that feeling where you know you're exhausted, you know you're tired, you know you need rest, but at the same time, there's kind of this internal angst that's going on in the body when the immune system is in flare, or when you're having reactivity, or when your adrenals are out of balance. And so as I got drugged out of the barn and into the hospital, and I laid there and I was taking, prednisone and anti-rejection drugs for the autoimmune disorder. I had systemic eczema. I had rashing all over my skin. I had a lot of scarring and scar tissue, which I've been able to resolve through food. And that's why I like to do our homemade face care programs together. But as I was going through that process, I had to really try to study and understand and lean in and be gentle and be kind and be loving to my body in order to figure out how the heck I was going to not just sustain organ function in life, but how I was going to thrive as opposed to survive. So as many of you know, I was well on my way to going to vet school. I have a degree in animal sciences, agriculture sciences, soil sciences, and was not planning on doing this whole nutrition thing for people. But lucky me, through my own health crisis, I realized that there had to be a better way and a different way, and really started to study the biomechanics of the metabolism, the biochemistry of the metabolism. And I learned a lot about the human body. And I started to go, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This is a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in agriculture sciences. So one thing that I think is really bizarre to me is that the human species is the only species that we think of diet as a bad word, right? You're on a diet, you have diet food, you have diet products, you're drinking diet soda. That's awful. But in every other species, the diet is something that's designed, that all these people and scientists and nutritionists and biochemists come together to design a diet for your dog that will make their joints more nimble, that will make them not be in pain, that will increase longevity, that will enhance their digestion, that will regulate their weight, right? We have zoologists, biologists, biochemists, nutritionists that create diets for animals that are in captivity. Like I worked on a project with the black rhinos at the Denver Zoo. I worked with the chimpanzee program with a zoo in Nebraska. I worked with the Division of Wildlife with a diet to create a diet in the Division of Wildlife for deer and elk population that were in captivity while they were doing some research on wasting disease. So I just had this disconnect where I said, how can diet be such a powerful and impactful and loving and kind and, it have major expectation in every other species, but in the human species. So I set out to set the diet world on its head. as I was studying metabolism, I was saying, wait a minute, if we can alter the structure and the physiology of the animals that we use for production in meat, the marbling, the quality, the grade of the meat, if we can change the what we call feed to gain ratio, meaning how we feed them determines whether they gain weight, where they gain weight, how they gain weight, is it muscle, is it fat? If we can do that in the animal industry, why can't we do that in the human industry? And why can't I use diet to change my life and my health and drag me out of the hospital bed and back into the barn and into life? And that's how I kind of got started in this whole thing. Then I created a bunch of clinics, and awesome, fun, lovely, love my clinical practice. But we were in a situation where, I was flying all over the place. People were flying in, people were flying me out, and our clinics were at full capacity. And actually, one of my clients insisted that I write a book. Many of you know that I'm dyslexic. So for me, books go like this. Since I was a little kid, we would have, I don't know if you guys remember, you would have book fairs. I would stack my books, as high as I could stack them at the book fair and beg my mom to buy me every book that I could not read, because I felt like it would make me seem well read. It would make me feel smart. And I had books and books and books in my bedroom that I didn't have the capacity to read. But it made me feel, by surrounding myself with those books, it made me feel smarter for some reason. I was so fortunate that my mom worked next to a library that had books on tape. And so what I would do is I would go while she was at work, and I would sit at the library, La Habra Public Library. I love you, by the way. I would sit there and I would listen, and I was an ear reader. I would just consume book after book after book. And I was always interested in anatomy books and physiology books and veterinary science books, and how I loved gardening, and I loved, bio-eco cultures, like, what ladybugs do and how the worms enrich the soil, and all those kinds of things were always so fascinating to me. But when my client said I should write a book, I just thought that was kind of crazy, because even when I sat for my graduate level testing for my GRE, I was like third grade, second month, still third grade, second month. And I thought, if you can't read a book, how are you supposed to write a book? So I decided to put this program together to create the fast metabolism diet for a larger community. And I audioed the entire book. I was so blessed and fortunate to work with a publisher that was willing to think out of the box, or out of the book. They love the hardcover books, and they like the paper to pen. And when I proposed the book, and I said, the issue is that I'm going to have to audio everything, and have somebody transcribe it, that was going to be kind of a whole nother venture. So fortunately, I had an amazing publisher that supported that. And as you guys all know, the history of it, we were an instant #1 New York Times bestselling book. We're in over 35 different languages. We've sold millions of copies. It was well accepted, and it was so funny. Someone said to me, I feel like you were talking to me. And I said, I actually was, because again, everything was audio recorded. So I want to take a little bit of a giant scissor step backwards and talk about what realization, and I remember it distinctively, that I had, that it's about the metabolism. And again, I was very young. I was struggling significantly with my health. I was depressed. I was not well. And really, a lot of the future did not look very positive. And I felt like no matter what I did, I wasn't getting the results from my body. So someone would say, like, for example, take a certain vitamin, take a certain herb, take a certain drug, eat a certain way. And I would watch these other people have these like miraculous, amazing results. And it just was as if I was pouring water through a colander, like what you would rinse your noodles in, right? I felt like I was pouring, buckets and buckets of wellness and water into this porous environment, and everything was just kind of draining through me and not manifesting the health that I wanted. So I went and I started studying biochem, and specifically the biochemistry of the metabolism. So I want to start with talking about because I'm going to use the word metabolism a lot, and I want to talk about what the metabolism is. it's really popular now. When I first started talking about the metabolism, um, even on a lot of the talk shows and TV shows and stuff that I was doing, I mean, I was met with like aggro aggression about, when I'm like, calories are a lie and don't drink diet soda. And I mean, people were mad at me. And I said, that's okay. That's okay. We'll evolve together through the process of wellness. And I'm so happy to see this. But if you go into your book, if you guys don't have a book yet, make sure you grab one. Um, we have an amazing individual that donates a lot of books to our community, and they feel they're in the medical health and wellness world. They feel very compelled that this book is changing lives. And so if you don't have a book, make sure you go to our website and type in free book. Usually we're giving some away, so please take advantage of that. But we talk about the metabolism as being something, but it's actually a process, okay? So it's a process that happens in the body. It's not an object. So like specifically the metabolism, the metabolic processes, and there's thousands, millions, billions. We just got some new research on how many billions of things happen in your cell every day. But it's a metabolic process that consists of chemical reactions, right? That occur in the cells of all living organisms to sustain life. It's the change or transformation of food into either heat and fuel or substance. So again, I just want to jot a couple things down and make sure if we don't grasp anything else, we talk about what's the metabolism. Just know that it's a process. And I tell you that because I want you to be very kind and very gentle with your body. So sometimes you might not lose weight right away because your body is busy healing other metabolic processes that are out of balance, that have gotten out of balance because of chemicals, pollutions, chronic dieting, stress, medications, drugs, the wrong supplements, whatever it is. Your body is in the repair process and it can't yet burn fat for fuel. So remember, it's a process. It's not an object. So you can't say, boom, tomorrow I want the best metabolism in the world. You can lean into your body and say, what is the current status of my metabolism telling me about my environment and what I need to do to change my environment by what I expose myself to here, here on your skin, in your diet, in your mouth, through your eyes, all of those kinds of things. So the first and foremost job of the metabolism is to sustain life. So if you are struggling, if you have an autoimmune disorder, if you have high cholesterol, if your scale is going up, 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 please give yourself a big warm hug and tell your body, thank you so much for sustaining my life. A dysfunctional metabolism just means that this is the very best way at this given moment that your body can sustain life first and foremost. So if you feel like you have a slow metabolism, if you don't feel like you have a sluggish metabolism, you do all have a metabolism or we wouldn't have life. But if you're not really thrilled with your metabolism, be kind, be gentle, be systematic in your approach to heal it. But above all else, be grateful that it's still sustaining life, even if it feels like a dysfunctional life, okay? And then remember that it is designed to create a change to transform food and stored fat into either fuel or substance. So fuel is going to be energy, right? So remember how earlier I talked about feeling tired and wired. My body was not efficient in having that. There's different adrenal hormones. There's epinephrine, norepinephrine, corticotrophic hormones. There's aldosterone, which makes you feel strong, smart, clear-headed. My body was leaning on some of the crisis, fight, and flight hormones in order to sustain life. I was really efficient at the metabolic pathway of being reactive, depressive, anxiety riddled. I was really, really good at it. And I'm so proud of my body for sustaining life in that state of dysfunction long enough for me to hack or crack some of the codes of having a more balanced and heal my metabolism. The other thing is that it is the metabolism, the process of the metabolism is designed to create substance. So substance is muscle, fat, bone, or blood, right? So over here, I'm going to put muscle. We love muscle. Yay! Not just for its looks, not just for its beauty, but we love muscle for all that it does for our body. Fat. We love fat. Remember, when we're burning fat efficiently and not storing it, it is what makes all of our sex hormones. We actually manufacture our sex hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, glucocorticoids, mineral corticoids, everything that regulates your blood sugar, your blood pressure, whether you have allergies or not during allergy season, your vitamin D levels, sustained vitamin D levels for immune system. All of that happens when you metabolize fat efficiently. It does blood and bone also. So blood. Remember that your blood is the delivery system. It's the UPS, FedEx, USPS, snail mail, email, DMs, IMs, any way that you communicate. Your blood is the vessel that communicates all of your nutrients to the place where healing can occur. And the next one is your bone. So a lot of people talk about menopause, bone density, osteoporosis, osteopenia. Really important, our structure, what holds us up. But what a lot of people don't necessarily think about is that our bone is one of our most adaptogenic, meaning our ability to adapt. We always think of the adrenals, our most adaptogenic resources in our entire body. It's where we store minerals. Which remember, help create a nice, calm, sleep, deep sleep, nice mood, no depression, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, always seeing the positive side of things. So our bone and the metabolism is really important. It helps with regulating the pH. It helps support the adrenal hormones, our stress hormones, whether we produce stress hormones, how we produce stress hormones. So that structure is all really important. Again, remember, the metabolism is the process. It takes something, food, fat, stored nutrients, can also take muscle, unfortunately, can also take organ tissue, unfortunately, when we don't feed ourselves. We do feed ourselves. We eat our structure when we don't consume healthy things. Always remember that. I'm going to say that again. We will eat. Our metabolism is designed to sustain life. If we create healthy things that we put in, we have a better chance of creating a healthy life. If we don't eat, our body will consume our structure in the form of muscle. Smooth muscle is the heart, the bicep, in the form of bone, in the form of blood, and lastly, unfortunately, in the form of fat. So we want a healthy metabolism that goes and converts food for fuel, fat for fuel, and we have a nice sustained energy. So all of you right now, I want you to just take 2 seconds out of your life and thank your body for having a metabolism. And as we go through how we maximize or heal or support or stimulate the metabolism, I want you to make sure that you have a really clear ideal or vision for what you want your metabolism to be like, okay? So when I was in clinical practice, as I've been in clinical practice for 20 plus years, a lot of people would come in and say, I want to lose weight, or I've got a big one, I've got a life insurance policy and they won't approve me because my cholesterol's high. My cholesterol medication is making me feel, shaky or fatigued. I want to stabilize my diabetes. I want to get pregnant. We had a nice list of goals, and on the website you can go and there's a health wish list. I really encourage you to immediately fill that out if you have not filled that out, and to dream big. But as we start to look at, okay, we also have a self-assessment questionnaire, which gives us a good definition of where you're at so that we know where you're at and where you want to go to. So the self-assessment questionnaire, there are some things that you might not think about, like maybe your eyebrows are thinning, or you have cracked heels, or you feel like your skin is crepey. Those assessments, those all tell us things about your metabolism, and are all things that we want to look at and monitor together so that we can work on healing the metabolism and making sure that it's manifesting in all aspects of the structure: energy, muscle, fat, blood, bone, all of those things as we work and heal on the process. So I decided to put together a 4-week program where we could focus on actually healing the metabolism. So one thing in the principles of the fast metabolism diet, we talk a lot about confuse it to lose it. What we want to do is change the trajectory of your current metabolic destiny. Again, like I said, if you're struggling, hug yourself, because you're sustaining life in that state of dysfunction. But in order to get out of that state of dysfunction, we have to change things up. What's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. And as I shared with you, when I was going through this, I felt like I was doing a lot of good things to try to get my health under control. I was never the person to go through fast food places. Quite frankly, my body just couldn't tolerate it when I was younger. When I was in college, I was making my own food, but I was still on a ton of prednisone, had eczema, my platelets were low. I just didn't feel like I could get traction in being well. I felt like I was doing a decent job at being a fairly healthy, unhealthy person. I don't know how else to explain that. I used to always say, I learned about the lemon law in the car industry, and I used to always say, where can you turn your body in from the lemon law? I just felt like it was, I just couldn't get, like I said, traction. So I started to create a program where I said, okay, what if we support intensely certain areas, what I like to call the 5 major players of the metabolism, certain areas of the body through nutrients, micronutrients, targeted micronutrients, foods, what we call success boosters, natural therapies. What if I just took bite sizes at this ginormous thing that felt like an out of control health? So I identified kind of what I call the 5 major players of the metabolism. So let's kind of isolate those here really quick. So, I talked about a few of them a second ago, but let's talk about the liver, the adrenals, the thyroid, the pituitary. And you guys, in your book, this is on page 33. And then I'm going to call your substance. And remember, we talked about that a second ago. So if you have a lot of muscle mass and good bone density, it's going to be easier to usually trigger a change in your metabolism. If you have already, your body feels like it has enough metabolic energy to have, thick hair, nice eyebrows, healthy skin, those are some of the first things that the body retracts from producing when it's under crisis. And we see that in our animal world when oftentimes when a dog goes into heat, they'll blow what they call blow their coat. They'll lose their energy capacity to maintain a nice coat. We see that in horses, their coat will be poor when their nutrition, or if they get a fever or they're not healthy. We see that a lot around us, where if a tree is under distress, it will lose all of its leaves. So oftentimes when we're under distress, again, in order to maintain life, we'll lose our bloom, okay? We'll lose our shininess. Maybe that's through our thoughts. Maybe we lose our shiny thoughts, but maybe we also, like I had a ton, I'm going to show you guys some pictures. I had a tremendous amount of, especially crown hair loss. It was not fun at all. So we talk about, when I decided to develop this program, I said, okay, what are the areas that we can really focus on, and we can target those. And maybe if we hit those 5 major players and just flood them with nutrients, maybe those can help pull up the other billion metabolic processes that happen in the body, and we can level the playing field and we can elevate our health. So I first identified that, and I started researching foods and herbs and tonics and spices and food combinations that would nurture all of these. So I always say the thyroid's the metabolism superhero. There are receptor sites on every cell of the body that the thyroid binds with that creates an excitation or an exchange in energy. And so the thyroid is a powerful one that we talk a lot about in the book. We also can see with things like keto diets or fasting or excessive dieting or diet-based products, artificial sweeteners, how it can alter the bond angles in the thyroid hormone that actually give you a slower metabolism in the long run. We talk a lot about reverse T3 and the thyroid hormone. It's one that is kind of scientific proving, like an aha, we see this in the actual microscope and in our blood labs. We actually see that stress and artificial sweeteners and excessive fasting and metabolic extremes like ketosis, extended ketosis, we actually see that it alters the shape of one of our superhero hormones and actually slows the metabolism in the long run. Remember, the pituitary is kind of the conductor of the whole thing. It tells the body, how and when to be active. The substance, again, we're talking about fat, but we're also talking about brown fat, fat that is thermogenic. We're talking about bone, blood, hair, skin, nails, all of that substance. If we can focus on these 5 superheroes or these 5 major players in the metabolism, we can elevate the health of the metabolism. So it's kind of how this program, it's 28 days, started. Then I said, okay, if we're going to do that, we're going to need to figure out a nutritional way, a way with nutrition to support those, but go between rest and restoration. So anytime something needs healing, let's talk about a broken bone, for example. There is a period of rest so that the body can rebuild and remodel. And there is a period of restoration where maybe you're doing physical therapy or coming back into activity. If you're running a marathon and you break your leg, you stop running the marathon, you allow the bone to heal, and then you rehabilitate typically before you go back into running a marathon. And so when I started looking at supporting these areas, I thought, gosh, if I just, really blast liver support and adrenal support and pituitary support and thyroid support and substance support, that's a lot for a body that's already struggling. So again, I took this massive thing and I took bite sizes and I said, okay, let's go for 4 weeks and let's go week by week and let's cycle or rotate our rest and restoration. So in the fast metabolism diet, each week you focus on 3 targeted areas. So we call it phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 happen all within a week. So phase 1 is the first 2 days of the week. Phase 2 is the second 2 days. And phase 3 is the last 3 days of the week. So for example, phase 1 would be Monday, Tuesday. Phase 2 would be Wednesday, Thursday. And phase 3 would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And in each of those phases, there is a very specific food list. There is a very specific style of eating. There are do's and don'ts. And the goal there is to take a minute of your time and really offer power on your plate and say, hey, can I sneak in here and help out a little bit? And maybe through cycling that, hey, how about if I help with this? How about if I come over and do your dishes? What about next week if I maybe do laundry? Maybe what if next week I come and sweep your patio? By sneaking into an exhausted or not well-balanced or not healthy or not optimal, like, I've got Olympic athletes that want more and more and more out of their bodies, or moms that need more and more and more to give to their families, or dads they're in the same position, or teachers, or children that need more and more and more to give to their communities. And so if I can sneak in, and we can sneak in by putting power on the plate, and we can rotate through that, this is why we don't do one thing all week long, and we don't even as a community do one program all year long. We are constantly coming in and serving the body in different and unique ways to create an environment that the body does what it's designed to do, which is come into homeostasis so that you can maintain your metabolism and you can maintain life. So we start with the fast metabolism diet, and I say, give me 28 days, give me 4 weeks. And in each of those 4 weeks, we elevate what we're feeding our bodies. We get maybe more and more savvy. We have people that follow along. We have challenges in our community. We have people that follow along, 5, 6 challenges and never actually make any of the food, just to grasp the ideas and the concepts and change their paradigm around food and fall in love with food and think about some of the basic rules that we have, which is eating 5 meals a day, 3 meals, eating 5 times a day, 3 meals and 2 snacks, making sure you eat within 30 minutes of waking, things like drinking half your body weight in ounces of spring water every day, because dilution is a solution for pollution. And as we're starting to burn fat more efficiently, we're releasing fat soluble toxins. We want to flush them on out of our body, okay? Some of those basic rules that we can kind of start to grasp that are important to nurture and heal the metabolism. And then they jump in and they say, okay, I'm ready to give you the 28 days. But remember, nutrition is a lifelong process. Not just because you need constant coaching and nurturing and feeding, but because the metabolism sustains life. So as long as you're planning on sustaining life, you're going to be working on your metabolism. As long as you are planning on eating, breathing, drinking, sleeping, you're going to be working on your metabolism. And it's kind of like, we don't brush our teeth once, we don't go to the gym once and consider ourselves fit. We don't, make our bed once and consider our home tidy. It is a process, and I want to talk about, okay, so what do you do? So you're sitting here going, okay, I am doing the fast metabolism diet. I want to do the fast metabolism diet. I'm ready to incorporate the fast metabolism diet. So how do I get the support that I need? So let me talk you through a couple of tools. I'm a big advocate for having the actual book. A lot of people have it on audio. I'm an audio person, as I shared with you. However, this is a workbook. This is not concepts. This is not theories. These are things that you're going to actually have practical application in your life. Besides we have hundreds and hundreds of recipes on our website, but some of our most favorite recipes, like the chili and the coconut curry chicken and the lentil stew and the avocado turkey lettuce wrap. Some of our favorite recipes are in the book also. So make sure you grab a book. If you don't have a book, you can get them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, our website. We have amazing donors in the health and medical and science world that believe so much in this program that they donate books every month to our community. So if you need a book, you can apply for one for free. The other is make sure that you have downloaded the app. We have an app, the Fast Metabolism Diet by Haylie Pomroy. It is free. If you do nothing but track your water, if you do nothing but log your food, if you do nothing but use the grocery list, export your meal maps, use it for reminders of things and little tips on how to nurture your metabolism, use that app on your phone. That technology is really, really supportive. We also have a different style in our community. When I went from, I would say I went from barn to hospital, hospital back to barn, back to school, into clinic, and then into the book world. And one thing that when we started selling so many copies of the book that I was grieving was being able to help people that had what ifs and yeah buts in their life, like all of us. What if I'm nursing? What if I'm running a mud runner? What if I don't have a gallbladder? What if I want to get pregnant? What if I've stopped my periods? And so we have created 2 different kinds of support. We have a membership community where you can get your questions answered. My team is on there 24/7, and then they meet with me once a week on questions that we maybe didn't have answers to or they didn't have answers to. Sometimes we'll shoot a video, sometimes we'll create a blog post, sometimes I get on there and answer. I get on there and answer a lot. And then we have another really fun level of support, which is challenges. We do those every month. They start at different times. You can jump in at any point. And those we call events, challenges and events. And sometimes we even do live events, which is really great. We've done a cruise. Our community is getting ready. The following year, we'll be cruising again together is the plan. We sometimes do live events. We do Facebook events. We do podcasts, all kinds of events where you can get solutions and answers. So this is my challenge for each and every one of you. I'd like you to embrace your current metabolic status. I'd like you to really dream big and create a wish list for where you want to be in your health and wellness. And then I want you to join us in our next challenge. I want you to join us in our membership community, get the support, get your questions answered. But above all else, really truly believe that you can put power on your plate and you can completely change the trajectory of your life. I still have a barn full of critters, but a clinic and a community full of individuals that have really filled my life and my life's purpose. So jump in, join us in the fast metabolism journey. You will fall in love with food. This is not a diet for first-time dieters. It's a diet for last-time dieters. I hope you guys enjoyed the class today. Love to you all.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy. Please remember to share the amazing science and tools with someone you love. The more we know, the more we all lift our global health together. Visit www.hayliepomroy.com to get notes from today's show and to take your education and health to a new level of success and happiness.
Information on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for the advice provided by your physician or other healthcare professional or any information contained on or in any product label or packaging. You should not use the information on this podcast for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease or prescribing any medication or other treatment. You should always speak with your physician or other healthcare professional before taking any medication or nutritional, herbal, or homeopathic supplement, or adopting any treatment for a health problem. If you have or suspect that you have a medical problem, promptly contact your healthcare provider. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking professional advice because of something you've heard on this podcast. Information provided on this podcast and the use of any products or services purchased as a result of this podcast does not create any type of professional relationship between you and any of the associates affiliated with this podcast. Information and statement regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.